All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! In a room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Authors with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight, to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up, this is our song. Yeah, this is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed, that's the misfit play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. It's the right now, we're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fight, to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is fabrication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home, you belong.
Woo! All right. Misfit Nation. Tonight is the night. We turn it all the way up. No waiting, no warm-ups, no holding back. The crew is here. The energy is already off the charts. Whatever kind of day you had, leave it at the door. This is your reset, your recharge, and your reminder that Tuesday night belongs to the Misfits. The mics are hot, the vibes are high, and we're about to bring the stories, the laughs, and the fire that only happens when this crew gets rolling. So get loud, get ready, and make some noise for Cagney and Lacey. It's the ToosDay Crüe.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening. How you doing, Steven?
I'm good. I'm even better now. You know, Super Bowl's behind us. NASCAR is next, baby.
You know it.
We are days away.
And hey, I'm counting down the days. Matter of fact, I'm going to Cincinnati for opening day of baseball on the 26th of March.
Cool.
I would rather it be St. Louis, but I got invited to go to Cincinnati, so I want to go to Cincinnati. So
I like that.
What was your temperature today?
It's been in the 30s. It's not bad.
I had to deal with about 75, dude.
Well, That's so sad. I
All my
still
snow.
look out my door and see all the snow out there.
Well, I got snow on the north side of the house. I don't have any snow anywhere else, so I am good to go. I am good to go. Anything good for supper tonight?
I just made some cheesesteak sandwiches.
Nice.
Yeah, I got the eye round roast beef, nice and thin, and I heat that with cheese on it. Make nice cheesesteak sandwiches.
That is good. That is good. Well, hey, we about ready to kick this off.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I tell you what, tonight we have the honor of having a retired U.S. Navy SEAL officer. His name is JJ Parma. He's got 11 deployments behind him. He really understands elite performance. I mean, you know, he was a SEAL officer, so yes, he understands elite performance. But he also understands the cost of living at that level. And today he's focused on intentional leadership, community, safety, and helping others navigate life after high intensity service. So without any further ado, let's get Mr. JJ Parma in here. Good evening, JJ.
Gentlemen, how are we? Honored to be here.
Good.
Honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are honored to have you. We are honored to have you. Hey, I gave about 5 cents worth of your bio up there. You want to start from wherever you want to start and hit us with the other 95 cents of it.
Yeah, no, you pretty much got it. I mean, that encapsulates 21 years in the teams encapsulates a lot of stuff that I've done. I like to say that I'm a paper tiger, right? So on paper, it looks pretty gnarly, right? I was fortunate enough to get an MBA while I was in the Navy. I came in with my bachelor's degree, so I enlisted 1996. The one promise I made to my parents or my mom, I was raised by a single parent most of my life. So the one promise I made to her was I'll get my bachelor's degree. So she held me to it. Athletics kind of distracted me and got me through college. And so I got a bachelor's in business. And then I enlisted in the Navy, what anybody really does, right, after they get a degree. And so, yeah, I went right to boot camp in 1996, literally May of 96, walked out of the registrar's office in Sacred Heart University and with a bachelor's and walked into the recruiter's office almost the same day and said, hey, I want to be one of those guys, pointed to a poster on the wall. It was a Navy SEAL poster. Remember 96, I tell this story all the time. You guys are my generation. So you remember we didn't have the internet, right? So that we had Netscape. And you were getting a web page. You were getting a web page every hour and a half if you were lucky. And so oftentimes you couldn't even find a computer to as the bits on the page, you know, skip down. So there was not a lot of information. Really, no gouge, quote unquote, military term there. And so so I signed up and said, you know, the recruiters, I'll give them credit, I always do. They tried to talk me out of it. Said, hey, you got a bachelor's degree. You don't want to be one of those guys, or do it later. You could go do a nuclear submarine, or you could be a pilot. You know, you got your ASVAB score, which we know is not the Mensa test of tests, right, to get into the military. But nonetheless, you know, I had a high enough score to do any job. And I saw that poster and I said, that's what I want to do. I was fascinated with Green Berets when I was a kid, which is a funny story in and of itself because I got recruited by West Point to play hockey out of college. But I ended up not going there. And so that's how I chased my dream. And 21 years later, I came out. Along the way, you know, picked up a finance degree at Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey. And my only really year and a half out of the SEAL teams, taking a break. You're still a SEAL, but you take a NETA for 18 months to get an MBA. That was great. And I felt so underprepared. We could talk about transition. And a lot of vets struggle with the same thing. Especially high-performing vets, sometimes even worse, underprepared, over-prepped on paper, but you feel underprepared mentally. So I ended up working my way to Harvard Business School and went to Harvard, got their honorary degree, became an alum there at the business school right before I retired officially. And then I stepped out of uniform in August 1st of 2017. So, 21 years.
Okay, fantastic.
So that's the resume in a nutshell. Yeah, like I said, paper tiger, right? Preparation prepared me for some of the ups and downs of transition. All good, right? All life lessons, everything
Yes.
else for the Navy. I was watching your last episode with was it Shoop, the Marine Corps?
Yes.
Yeah, the Marine Corps guy talks about PTSD. So had some interesting takes on that whole thing. It's interesting his perspective, seeing that. I think a lot of guys, especially with some longevity or with guys that were in the last 2 decades where my entire career was combat, basically. I like to say that. People are like, well, you came in '96 under Clinton. I said, well, you guys must have forgot about Bosnia Herzegovina because that was my first deployment, right? So a lot of people forgot about that little 1999 conflict that we were in because 9/11 kind of overshadowed everything, and then our re-entry into Iraq. And so, that the whole rest of that history, guys that were in those 2 decades of service were, no matter what branch you were from, you were turning and burning in some way, in the support role or boots on the ground. And so it's kind of been, it's been an interesting ride in this generation. I'm a pre 9/11, post 9/11 SEAL, right? So that breed is a breed in of itself, right? So we can talk about that.
Well, I don't want to show my, when I came in, the Berlin Wall was still up.
Yeah. I remember when it went down. I was a kid.
But yeah, and I want to ask you a question. This has nothing to deal with your service. This has something to do with before you came into service. Since you live 2 streets over from marvelous Marvin Hagler, when you grew up, did you ever meet him?
So I met him, and this is a great story. Of course, I met him. I hung out with his kids. So he had 3 kids. Some kids from a prior marriage, some kids from his present marriage at the time. This was the '80s. I grew up with one of his kids. His nickname was Champ, and so I would go see the 2 streets over. When I say you get on your bike and you roll around, our corner was like a peace symbol with a round circle with a street down the middle. I used to go see them all the time. And I remember when he made a move from Brockton, Massachusetts, he at one point made a move to a place called Hanover, Massachusetts, got a bigger house, pool with a boxing glove at the bottom of it, said Marvel's. This is when he started to really take off. So he left a small city home in the outer streets of Brockton to go to Hanover. They invited me over. They were going to go see the house and the pool. And I remember, I can't remember how old I was, 9, 10, young enough to get in trouble for not reporting my location, and old enough to be an idiot, not, to think I was going to get away with it. So I jumped in the car with the Haglers and they drove to Hanover. I remember seeing the pool, had a boxing glove at the bottom of it. 2 hours later, I came home and I think my mother laid into me. And most of it because she didn't understand boxing. Hagler was black and we were white. It wasn't a racist thing, but it was just like, you can't go with over to see the pool. And I'm just looking at her going, come on. This is the middleweight champion of the world, right? It's like, give me a break. So yeah, I'll never take that moment back. He was, met him more than a couple times. He wasn't a man of many words, but his presence, you've seen him box. You guys, all that. I mean, by far, they don't make boxers like that anymore. At least I don't follow it like I used to. When boxing was the thing and MMA didn't exist and UFC and all that other stuff. I mean, the grit, the grind, and just, being around a champion like that. And he was as humble as they come back in the day. So, yeah. That's a true story.
I'm sure.
Yeah. True story.
That's pretty amazing. That's a good childhood memory right there.
Yeah. I mean, so Brockton, Massachusetts, if you don't know, I don't know how much research you did, but it's called the city. There's a sign when you get off of one of the major highways, the 24 in Boston. When you get in, go off the highway to Brockton, there's a sign right at the off ramp that says City of Champions. So Rocky Marciano's from Brockton. His nephews are all Brocktonites. My sister was in the same cohort as Stephen Marciano, Rocco Marciano, Peter Marciano, who committed suicide, sadly. But that little cohort was my sister's cohort. She was 2 years older than me. And so, yeah, the city was known for its boxing aura back in the day.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. And, that's a lot of, 2 big names to come out of it. That's That's pretty good stats for,
Yep.
for that
Yeah,
little town.
it gives the town its gritty past, right?
Yes, it does. Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Okay, so you're in the Navy. You're a SEAL. You hit your 21 years. They give you your flag, your retirement pin, and say, "Thank you, sir, for your service." What happened next?
So what happened next was you basically step out into an empty world with no Rolodex, and the reason I say that is it's a scary time, right? So I'll put it in the perspective of I was with such high performers, and I was basically raised in the SEAL team. So my father figures are all now senior officers or have retired. Were flags at the time, high-ranking individuals, and I'll put it in perspective like this. I've had a number of them, and when I say a number, more than a handful of guys that mentored me that were senior in rank, who at one point in their career all said, "Look, I'm gonna get out. I want to be a CEO by the time I was 50." That's an actual quote. And this was, we're all late 40s and I'm mid 40s. I was a prior enlisted guy, so I got commissioned in 04. And then more than a couple guys said, I want to start my own business. And I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 of those individuals all ended up staying in, because when their feet straddled the line between civilian world and staying in the military, they hung on to that safety net, right? These are high performers who were going to make it in the civilian world in one way or the other, whatever make it means, right? Because that's a whole nother discussion, right? A lot of guys are, oh, he's crushing it, right? What does crushing it mean in the civilian world? Is it all money driven? Is it your bottom line? Is it your bank account? Most of these individuals stayed in. And when I made the jump, it's about coming out of your comfort zone. This is one of the leadership characteristics that I talk about when I do public speaking, when I do presentations. The comfort zone is the biggest killer, right? So this is, you have to make the jump. There's the line, civilian life, military. You have to make the jump. A lot of these guys didn't take the jump. They stuck in. And what happened? A lot of them not happy that they did that, and your shelf life expires as you what's 27 years? Well, we're going to go 28 years in the Navy, maybe 29, 30 years in the military. Not much to do but public speaking after that. Not that that's a blanket statement. You can always make do. But as far as career wise, you just fall behind the power curve, and a lot of guys stay in, and I know they regret it. I've had conversations where individuals regret it, and so I saw that at 21 years. I tried to get out at 20. They kept me for an extra year for whatever reason. Almost deployed to Afghanistan too as a final thank you. Thanks for coming. But that didn't happen, thankfully. So I ran the command at Buds in Coronado for SEAL training. And so, yeah, I took the jump. I just said, the hell with it, right? I've always been in situations where I didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. If you asked me today whether I knew I was going to stay in 21 years, I can tell you every year that I marked off onto the piece of wood, I didn't know what I was going to do the next year. That's kind of haphazard to be that way, but I also didn't want to plan for a future that didn't happen. And I look forward all the time. Back then, I've learned now to live for today and every hour and every minute that I'm blessed to get. So that's a different perspective in and of itself. But I'm glad I took the jump. And when I got out, I thought there was going to be more to special. And I can only speak from the special operations perspective, right? The higher tier group, you think that you're going to get a Rolodex full of individuals that you can contact. They'll be there, because prior to 2007, 2008 in the military, in special operations, especially the SEAL teams where you're supposed to be the quiet professional, there were no benevolent organizations as combat was ramping up. We didn't have any fallback. There were no civilians out there putting up millions of dollars for families. And thankfully, I went through most of my combat years as a single soldier, which I love being deployed, which is why I deployed so many times. But you don't get any. There wasn't much help, and those benevolent organizations kind of stood up 2010 and post, and they're great. They're great, but they're still in the civilian world, and naval special warfare keeps to itself, and basically you get your award and you get your, here's your retirement. Thanks for your service, and pat on the ass, and out you go. And so the military is, as you guys know, is a cog. You're just a cog in the wheel. They're a pump, and they pump you out, and then you're going to be replaced, and the machine moves on. And so I was scared, which is why I told you I over prepared, right? I didn't have to go out to Harvard Business School. I just felt connections in a way would help me with a safety net, at least psychological. It was all psychological for the most part, right? Because once you get out there and once you take that leap, I tell everybody it's the hardest thing to do, is to take that leap out of your comfort zone, do something that you're not used to. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the better survival skill that you have, right? It's not even surviving. You realize that day to day is not a problem, right? I'm always going to have something to fall back on. So it sounds simple when it comes out of my mouth. It's hard to do. I understand it. But talk to me for 20 minutes and I'll get you the gumption. Because a lot of the transition going from military to civilian world is this crazy thing they call lexicon, where in the military we have our military jargon. We can sit around a bunch of civilians, talk about all these acronyms and fancy mission terms, and that's great, and they feel like an outsider. Well, the same is true on the civilian world. Once you let somebody in and you learn that military jargon, and then you get on the outside and you learn lexicon of the business world, which doesn't require much of a degree actually at all. And once you get mentored the right way, and you learn the language, you're off and running. Like you have the skills from the military. That's what I tell everybody. You already have the skills. You have relationship building skills. You have budgeting skills. You have financial skills that you don't even think you have. You have it all. You have executive C-level, even enlisted, senior enlisted folks. They have C-suite level experience. And when you're running a command, you're a command master chief or command sergeant major, you have skills that can replace any C-suite individual. You just have to shave your beard and not look so scraggly all the time, right? That's really the transition story. It becomes scary for a lot of people, and then you're going to fail. I'll tell you right now, you're going to fail in the civilian world, and then not everything's going to be all rosy. You're not going to step into some sweet job, but you learn really quick that it's just like mission fail or something that happened on the inside of the military that you bounce back. Nothing is catastrophic. There is no catastrophic civilian scene. It just doesn't exist, right? And if you think it does, and you make it that way, then you're going to go down this tomb of just suffering, self-suffering, and then self-pity and become a victim. That's just all smoke and mirrors, because you just have to learn how to pop through, which gets into the post-PTSD world, or I like to call it PTS because it's never been a disorder. I don't think that's a real thing. I do think post-traumatic stress is a thing, but I think it's easily correctable if you start working on it.
Yeah, it is. And, personally, I find my triggers. I know what my triggers are, and recognizing that is a really big help. And I got one question about your transition. Were you ever tempted by the overseas contracting jobs?
Not once. So for whatever reason,
good for you.
I got done, I watched that whole generation build up, right? So I was in Iraq when my friends got out, teammates got out chasing that $5,000 paycheck a day or whatever the hell Blackwater back in the day was offering. I literally saw guys jumping ship 2003, 2004, 2005, 6, 7, right? All running for the gates for what? I remember vividly back then in Iraq talking to one of the guys. We had just lost a team guy, and he went to the other side, went to the contracting side after 3 or 4 years in the teams. We were having a chat at the old green zone when it was still the green zone in Baghdad.
Yep.
And I was asking questions, and I said, okay, wow, that's a lot of money. That's really good. Good for you. When you guys go across the bridge, and at the time they were doing PSD for some of the up and coming government officials in Iraq. And I said, what's your QRF plan? Like, who's coming to get you? And the answer I got was kind of stunning. And I said, okay. So not much, right? So you're going alone and unafraid. What's your health plan? What's your health insurance? Like, what's your backup plan? And 401k? Nothing, right? So this is all contract dollars. And I said, Not very wise when you don't have, the full force of the United States government, at least backing you up with some kind of death plan, health plan. And it may not be much, but it's something, right? So especially if you're married with children or you have kids, just the backstopping that they didn't plan for when they looked at that paycheck week to week and deploying for a year and God knows doing what with who. Not to mention the experience level of the contractors, as you guys may well be aware. I mean, they'd be short staffed. They got a contract from DOD for $1 billion and who are they going to stock it with when they can't get tier 1 guys to come fill in? Then you're working with, foreigners and, people that are vetted by, these companies through a third party. And it just spirals out of control. And that was the biggest turnoff. And that was in combat days. But later on, as I approached, 13, 14, 15 year mark, I was so just drained by government institutions that I didn't want anything to do with the federal government. I knew when I got to 2020, 20, 21 years, to forget it. I'm stepping out. I just want to go do my own thing, right? I knew that I had to become somebody else or do something else. I actually didn't have to become anybody else and be myself and just apply some other skills and find something else to do. Yeah, I didn't want to work for the federal government. I think the bureaucracy was had worn me down. People ask me all the time, do you miss it? And the standard answer that I could give you right off the cuff that just comes right out of my mouth is, I miss the guys and the camaraderie. I do not miss the institution. And so, yeah, long-winded answer to your question. I had never had a desire to go contract.
Yeah, I completely understand. I toyed with it a bit, and then I was like, I talked with my boss about it, and she said, I would rather you not do that. And so I didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't. I am so glad that I did not do that.
Yeah, good for you.
All right, the audience has a couple questions here right now, if you're ready. First one is from at Luna Rose, and they want to know, at what point are SEALs given instructions to write books? Thank you for that question, Luna Rose.
I don't know. I love this person. Contact me because that's hilarious, right? So the silent professionals, right? All the stuff that we get. Yeah, it's a great question. I'm really. SEALs are torn, right? This debate has the more guys that are coming out now. I'm sure you guys have seen the circuit of shows. A lot of the guys I know, you got Delta guys now doing their podcast. They got all kinds of folks, doing their podcast. And the main debate lately is with Rob O'Neill and, I killed Bin Laden. I was going to come on your show, and I love to enter podcasts as a guest and be like, well, I hate to bust through the wall today, but I'm actually the third guy that shot Bin Laden. And then that just throws everybody for a loop. And it's like, oh God, here's another one. But seriously, this is what they're arguing about on podcasts. And it's getting, millions of views, and it's all fascinating, but really who gives a shit, right? And to her, whoever wrote that question, there's no instructions. The books were, never supposed to happen, even though I read Dick Marcinko's Rogue Warrior back in the day. A lot of those.
Who didn't?
I think Red Cell was the only one that was meant to be on the fictional side or the nonfiction side. But yeah, I don't know. You're writing a book about a single operation or a single thing. I'm okay with guys writing about their career, right? Writing about the military writ large, or writing about their experience with elite individuals and the leadership principles maybe that they took out of that. It's a problem when you're trying to get the spotlight for an operation when hundreds of us have been through multiple operations that we don't talk about. It's not that you shouldn't, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. So yeah, there is no point. I had to answer the question directly. There is no point where we have a book class where we're told to go write and rock and roll. So touche, whoever that was.
Okay, Steve. Yeah, keep them coming, Stephen. If they're in there, let's go ahead and get a bunch answered.
Yeah, let's get all
All right,
the
Senate wants to know what's the hardest part of losing rank and structure after the teams. Thank you for that question. Send it.
So it isn't hard for me, and the reason I'll tell you is because I've always been humbled. Even when I made lieutenant commander in my last 3 years, which that's a company field grade officer, right, level where you really turn the corner if the officer ranks 01 to 03, you got company grade, and then 04, 05, 06, you're off and running with this more responsibility. I think it's a little different in special operations, but I've always been humbled in every job I stepped in. And so rank to me was, it starts way early in BUDS when you don't have rank at BUDS. And when you go through the actual BUDS training in Coronado, the basic underwater demolition SEAL training, you have no rank. And you learn very early that, rank has its purpose, but when you're going through what you're going through and when you go through combat, you're really indifferent about it. So I was never even getting saluted to the final day that I left base. And I still, God bless these kids that are guarding the bases today. When I go work out on the gym at North Island here, or I go to an Air Force base in Texas, these kids are professional as all hell. They salute, they snap to, they see a retirement ID card. Still to this day, I'm like, come on, guys. Like, I don't deserve that. Like, don't call me sir. I work for a living, right? That's the old saying. But yeah, I don't think losing rank was an issue because I didn't live behind rank. Most people that do have some other issues going on. Structure's the big one. Discipline is what I take into my life now, which I always have. I think that is a very critical piece for people to take. You lose the discipline part when you get out of the military, you're going to fall apart a little bit. I think discipline's okay. Discipline in everything you do carries over in a lot of ways to the civilian world. So I don't think I ever lost structure. You just find a way to restructure, if that makes sense, right? You find a way to restructure what you had. You find a way for good order and discipline outside the military, and those are keys, base level, foundational blocks for success in the civilian world. I do hold talks on that piece alone, how important it is to be disciplined in everything that you do. But rank, no big deal. I don't think that that matters. If you're taking that into civilian world, which you and all three of us probably know some people that they walk into a room and they command this presence, and civilians are looking at them like, what the hell are you? Hey, Major, your little Oakley fell off when you left the military. You can't lead with rank, right? It's just, for us in special operations, we look at it a little bit differently. Although we respect it, there's always complete respect for the rank, but you always push back once, and you don't push back a second time. I don't think rank matters.
Well,
okay, but what I'm looking at, and I'm the one in the room that hasn't been military, the producer, Jake, yourself, you're saying, they salute you, they look at you with admiration. You guys are a dying breed. What you see today in the military is 3 and out, 6 and out. You lasted over 20 years. Jake lasted over 20 years. The producer lasted over 20 years. You don't see that anymore. You don't see anybody making a life out of the military. So
yeah. And I'll tell you an interesting stat, Steve. So I looked at this a couple years ago. This data is probably dated, probably a good 9 or 10 years. But when I was 2015, about a couple years before I retired, so I ask people all the time, do you have any idea what percentage of the military, this was the Navy, this was a Navy stat, what percentage of the Navy actually makes it to 21 years or 20 years of retirement? Because people are always like, they assume that it's the majority of the Navy, at least at that point. So most civilians I've had, they said, I don't know, 80%. 75%, 65%. The actual data, the actual figure that was back in 2015, 2016 was 15%. 15% of the entire Navy made it to 20 years, right? Wow. This is why I get pissed off when the airlines go, okay, active duty with ID can get on the plane first. And I go, what? I go, how about the retirees that actually can produce a retired ID? I usually win at the gate if you're privately talking, but they do make that announcement. And I think to myself, wow, this guy's 1 year, and you make it to the 20-year mark, you can't get on the plane first, right? So a lot of airlines have adjusted, but yeah, so that was 15% of the Navy. I'd like to look those stats up. I haven't done that in a while, and just to see but you're right. The average lifespan of a SEAL, an enlisted SEAL, is 6 to 8 years. That's about a tour and a half, 2 tours.
Wow. I didn't know that was the average for now. Is that getting out of the Navy completely, or is that to moving to another MOS?
From the SEAL teams?
Yes.
No, that's getting out. They're not moving to team guys. Once they're done with the teams, they're out. Nobody goes in reverse. At least I don't know.
We did have a few when I was at the schoolhouse. I taught at EOD school. We had a few of them that would come through EOD school. Not very many, but we had a few that were. I don't know if something happened to them. They couldn't do the mission anymore, but they ended up coming through EOD school. I don't know why they did it, but they did it.
Yeah, that'd be a crossover of a special up to. Yeah, I've known some double pinners. Yeah, I would say the 6 to 8 getting out of the SEAL teams. Most of the guys are getting out, stepping out, not transitioning over DOD. Did I just see the stat that it seems to be? Did your producer look that up? There it is, 15 to 20% complete. Still to this day, which makes sense, right? It makes complete sense that it wouldn't be overwhelmingly different. It's a lot of years of discipline.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And then the ups and downs. And I'll tell you what else would crush that number. This is coming from a SEAL perspective. I know a lot of guys. I still keep in touch. I go down to the command and visit the guys and talk to students every now and then, and talk to team guys that are in platoons. There's you guys know, back since Vietnam, you can look at the cyclical nature of the up and down of combat and non-combat, conflict and non-conflict. From Vietnam to the 80s, the SEAL teams were stagnant, in 1980s and 90s, and then little blip in Somalia, the 90s, and then boom, we're off and around. Then that spike went up. And so a lot of the recruitment post 9/11, the attraction was not, and the more we distance ourselves from the actual day of 9/11, the more we distance ourselves from that, guys were coming in for the combat, and then going back to the famous book question that we had. Guys are writing books, and the movies are coming out. There's a freaking series on TV. It was just nonstop marketing for the special operations community. But guys get in and they're disheartened, right? So being a pre 9/11, post 9/11 guy, I started in a little bit of a lull where joint exercises, we called them JSETs, joint combined exercise training, with foreign countries was like the thing to do. And you got used to that. Break glass only in case of emergency, right? That was the old T-shirt and poster at the SEAL team, which was awesome. You think about it, you're like, oh yeah, well, they broke the glass after 9/11 for sure. But you got a lot of guys entering post 9/11 for the wrong reasons. They want to ground pound. They want to go get in ground assaults, which is not, by the way, was not why the SEAL teams were developed way back when in 1962. January 1st, 1962, JFK commissioned the SEAL teams. But even prior to that, the UDTs, right? So, we weren't really designed to be a ground force door assaulting, unit ever. We were, our bread and butter was the water. We could fight in all things, but after that, the whole mission set for the SEAL teams kind of changed, and guys came in, and when the combat dried up here in 2015, 16, 17, guys came in, not what they thought, and they're punching. So that's going to keep that. That's going to elevate the enlisted guy's life, and for better or for worse, right? If you had an expectation, you came in, you made it through. It's not what you thought, you're going to get out. You have to have a higher purpose coming in, right? That's the beginning of the whole thing. You don't have that higher purpose, and your purpose is narrow. forget it. You're not going to last long. That's any job, right? That's any job. You wanted to be a plumber, and you came in and you hate what you do every day, or it's just not what you thought it was going to be. You're not going to be a plumber much longer, right? So I think it's the same thing for the SEAL teams, which is a shame. I found the teams for different reasons. Everybody has their story, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yes, it is.
Let me move on here. Nina Barnes wants to know, how did you feel after you hung up your boots? Thank you, Nina, for that question.
Yeah, I was thankful. I was thankful to be gone. So from my perspective, again, I do not speak for all special operators, especially, and I certainly don't speak for all SEALs because everybody has their own journey. It was a tough time to be in. I loved to, first off, I would do it all over again. So yeah, that if that question's coming, the answer is yes. I would do it all over again because of the guys that I met. And like I said, I miss the guys, not the institution. I really miss the guys, the camaraderie. You're never going to work with a group of people collectively like that on a day-to-day basis in your entire life. It's just not going to happen. I was happy to retire. I felt like I had a great career, tired on a high note, but it was very difficult to think back. And nobody should lose. So of the operations that happened, Operation Red Wing, that at the time back in 2005, in July, that was the biggest loss of SEAL life at one time. When we lost, all those operators on that one helicopter. Fast forward to 2011, then we lose 30 guys on a plane. 20 of those guys were not just teammates of mine, but at one point, friends of mine in the teams. And so to lose 20, 30 odd people in a lifetime when you're working is not normal for any human being, right? You don't lose that many family members in a lifetime. And so
No.
So that loss, which we compartmentalized and put off to the side, was sad to see. And not to mention the suicide issue that started to just go through the roof in 14, 15, 16, and 17. I mean, guys just taking their lives that you never see. And often it goes unreported, but we hear the stories inside the teams. And that's just not just the SEAL teams. That's the Green Berets. That's Army ground pounders, Marine Corps. These guys just started at a rate that was just unprecedented. So I look back at that piece, and that I was happy to leave and step out and just for it to be over. And then here's a true story for you. We had a guy that died on a post-training mission off the coast of Africa doing a breath hold. And I had just retired. This is November of 2017. And I was the first one to get a phone call because I was at a command previous that this individual who was a SEAL was going to. And I was at breakfast kind of enjoying my first couple months post-retirement. I was the first one that got a call because the civilian that was looking for someone to contact didn't know who to call. And I stood up, and I remember sitting down. I was in up here just south of Los Angeles at a beach breakfast somewhere, and I remember sitting down just so distraught. And my friends looked at me and they said, "What's up?" I said, "It never ends." Like, I thought I was retired, and I just got a phone call, and I got to call a CACO officer, or at least the operations officer, at a boat team to get this person in touch with the CACO because they don't know what to do. Right. So,
yeah,
I mean, you can't make it up. And so, yeah, those are the parts that you don't miss of the military. But I was not distraught. I didn't, for 1 minute after retirement, look back and go, I wish I stayed in another year. That never happened. So I was grateful to be out. I think time had run its course. I gave my due to the country, to the SEAL teams, and I was ready to go.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, hey, we're going to kind of shift gears here a minute, and I want to ask you what you're doing now with community safety.
Yeah, so I was fortunate. So I've kind of been through the ups and downs of civilian life. When I stepped out of uniform, I was fortunate enough to go right into a job, which bad, good, or indifferent. I should have taken time off. I didn't listen to my mentors. So if anybody in the military is close to where I'm at, and you listen to one thing I say, take time off, take 6 months off if you've done 20 years in the military. If you don't, you're a fool. I didn't. I just had to, I thought I had to earn. And so that my type A personality and overachieving personality took over. I stepped right into a job, worked on Wall Street for 7 years. We can talk about Wall Street till the cows come home, but great paycheck, terrible community, terrible culture. Lived my life in an airplane for 7 years, and it paid its dues. And so then in August of 2024, I finally took time off. No kidding. I mean, you talk about taking time off from work. I think I worked. My mother had me I had to have a job at the age of 13, hauling pool chemicals up in Boston, Massachusetts. So I never didn't work. And then I went right into the military. Then you come out. And so after 7 years on Wall Street and after retiring, 21 years, I took my first month off. And I'm going to tell you guys, it was nice. And that's when I realized I should have listened to my mentors. Took a few months off before I jumped at a job opportunity. Grateful for it all. Don't get me wrong. But, I was cutting down trees on we have a lot next to the house in Texas. My wife is sitting there and she said, you got to get a job. Like, we don't have that many trees on the lot. So I'm out there with a chainsaw like a kid in a candy store, just being a human being, just cutting down trees. And then, so that's kind of how that conversation went. But serendipity, there was a bunch of, so 4 Navy SEALs had started a company in 2019, shortly after the 2018 Parkland, Florida school shooting. You guys remember that well. Mm-hmm. They started a company where they came up with an analytic after they were taking their kids to school. One of the co-founders was taking his kids to school on the East Coast, walked up after their 150th lockdown drill at the school, said to the administration, what are you guys doing with these cameras? Got the answer that you're going to expect and that you could probably just write yourself. Nothing. Nobody's watching the cameras. We don't monitor them. They're great for reactivity. Who broke into the car last night? Who has a vape pen? All the crap that, forensics will get you, but nothing being proactive. And so that was the genesis for this idea to make it analytic where the cameras get put to work, already existing camera infrastructure. They put software on the cameras that detects brandished firearms, and they were off and running in 2019. So in 2024, when I was semi-searching for work because I was getting yelled at, I found this group through a SEAL network, which was great, and they needed somebody to cover the state of Texas, which I was happened to be a resident of, and I went up to see the technology up in Philadelphia, where the headquarters is. I was blown away. I walked in there and I said, this needs to be, why is this not in every, at least school right now? Why is there not, why isn't this like a major news story? Federal funding comes out, boom, schools purchase it. Well, come to find out it's not that easy, and it's sad to see what DC actually does about school shootings because they don't do much. And so that's how it started. I came on board and started covering Texas almost a year ago to the day.
Okay. Are you free to talk a little bit about that, or
Sure am.
Sure. I mean, I went through the website and I do have a few questions, but I think it's an amazing idea.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Especially,
it really is.
Especially for schools.
Yeah, it's the only thing. It's the only proactive measure out there, and we are best in class. Reason being, the 4 team guys knew how to run this operation. This isn't a private equity play, or this isn't a let's come with a great idea and sell it. This is a from the heart. When I tell you got to have purpose in what you do, these guys just sold me. They were all team guys for about 6 to 8 years, right? The average, they went out and got their MBAs and then started a few other business ideas until they came up with this together with a bunch of genius technologists. And so this needs to go at a minimum into every school, but every camera. It is non-invasive, so we do not, this isn't a facial recognition play. This isn't a collective data play. So I know a lot of states and a lot of individuals out there, who love their First Amendment rights and want to argue this is not that, right? So this is agnostic to the political spectrum. We collect data for the customers, and that data belongs to the customers. So all we get are the detection photos from a brandished weapon. And it is, the tagline is, we like to stop, we save lives, save time, save lives. And we do that by getting it at first sight, not first shot, right? That is the goal of the system, is to get it at first sight, first shot. So if you have a camera on the outside of your school, 60, 70 feet away, and somebody brandishes a weapon, and believe me, when somebody's going to commit an act of terror like this, the gun always comes out. It has in every school shooting. You can name one: Aurora, Colorado. You can talk about Uvalde all day long, Parkland shooting, even the one just happened in New York at the Blackstone building, right? So individual brandished a weapon and they're going to commit an act. Well, imagine getting it in the parking lot, 60 to 70 feet out. We dispatch an alert through our human in the loop, and this just is not. It's not just an AI play. This is an AI detection and analytic on a camera that goes to a human in a 365, 24/7 operation center up in Philadelphia. We have one in Hawaii, one in Philly for the crossover of times and redundancy. You have a human in the loop who in 3 to 5 seconds, and you have to be former law enforcement, you have to be former military to work in there. Reason being, they're deciding whether that threat, that picture that came in the analytic is an actual weapon or not, and they will dispatch, and they will pick up the phone and call 911. They will call the customer and control the situational awareness piece of the whole thing. This is an amazing breakthrough in security technology. And like I said, it's the bane of my existence running around listening to these school systems, especially in Texas, these small independent school districts, the ISDs, who tell me this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but we have no money. And it's heartbreaking because of the dollars they spend everywhere else on their massive oversized stadiums, right? On their football programs and everything else. And I get it. But for the cost of maybe $20,000, $30,000 a year for a 5-year contract, you can put 50 cameras on that system and get protected so that something like this doesn't happen. You can use it as a deterrent. You can advertise it. You can not advertise it. But the fact that there's a protocol out there after all these incidents, and they continue to happen, by the way. And by the way, the more cameras we get on, and the more customers we pull in, the more incidents we found. So in 2023, we had about roughly 550 true positive where we saw an actual weapon in dispatch. Okay. In 2024, as our customer base grew, we had over 1,500. Last year, we had 2,600 true positive pickups. These are weapons that you would never know without the existence of Zero Eyes were on the property at the time.
Damn.
Okay. Now, question: now some of these businesses or whatever, I know some of their cameras reach out into public areas, public property or whatever. Do you have to determine, say, I'm walking by, I don't have a weapon brandished, I've got a concealed weapon. You're making the determination whether I have hostile intent, basically.
We don't pick up concealed weapons.
Oh, okay. All right. That was my question.
Yep. The gun, and especially in the state of Texas, where I carry every day. Like everywhere I go, I have a Texas license to carry, right? So people are always carrying in Texas and Florida. We have those states that we cover. Not a problem because we don't pick up a brandished weapon. We train our algorithm and analytic not to pick up a holstered weapon for law enforcement that may be unseen for anything. That gun has to be brandished. It doesn't have to be the entire gun either. Our algorithm is probably best in class. It only has to be a gun shape of some sort. We've got detections where we just pick up either the pistol grip or the trigger well or even just a barrel. It's amazing, the analytic, but it has to be brandished in some way, shape, or form. And like I said, 90% of these start outside, actual shootings on a facility. 90% of them start outside and move in. That gun's going to get brandished because when somebody actually works up the gumption and they've planned it, and you've seen the manifestos and you've read the news, they start posting online. It takes a lot of nerve to actually do that. So that gun is coming out, and when it does, Zero Eyes is there to grab it.
Okay, so it's out, but what about the kid that walks with it in his backpack and puts it in his locker and says, "This is what I'm going to do at lunch," or "This is what I'm going to do."
Right. Yeah. If he gets inside a facility and it's concealed, then Zero Eyes won't pick it up until it's brandished.
Right.
What we do in that situation, like I said, our goal is first sight, not first shot.
Right.
Individual takes it out, takes first shot. Hopefully we save 15 other lives by picking up the detection right away. Right. So there's value. There's value for Zero Eyes everywhere.
Well, hopefully that's not the only means of security they have. They either have backpack checks or they have a metal detector or something, and this is just part of their layered security.
Correct. We are a force multiplier for what's on the ground.
Okay. All right. Well, I've been on the website. I was on that website for about an hour and a half before we got on here looking through it and stuff. And that's some pretty amazing stuff. And and
here's I'll give you a quick example too of one of our most recent customers, the great Florida State University. And so you heard about that shooting last April. 2 people killed, 6 people shot on their campus, 420 acres. What people don't know or don't remember is that that's actually their second shooting on that campus in 10 years. So in 2015, they had a shooting on that campus as well. We talked to them in 2023. They saw the technology, said, hey, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but right now we're doing fencing, window film, standard answer. We're doing all this reactive stuff. Great stuff. Talk to us down the road. Well, fast forward to last April. The report we got from the local police there who responded was the individual actually drove into a parking garage at Florida State, exited his car with a shotgun in his hand, pointed it at the first person he saw in the parking garage. It malfunctioned, thankfully. He ditched it, reached into his backpack, pulled out a pistol, then made his way onto campus grounds, all under monitored cameras, by the way, on the campus. And then started shooting people. That whole scene took 2 minutes. By the time he exited his car, made his way outside, the police response time was 2 minutes. That's not bad. That's 4 minutes of time. Pretty good response time. They realized had they had a technology like Zero Eyes with a malfunctioned shotgun in the parking garage, they could have responded and potentially prevented anybody from getting shot on campus that day.
Yes.
So that's a real world example. They now are a customer, and they have a variety of cameras on their 420-acre campus, thankfully.
Yeah, I read the reviews from some of the schools that have put it in and stuff, and they love it.
Yeah. Once we get it on board, we don't lose customers. It's funding. Help us get funding. That's what we need. that's what we need. Really.
I understand.
It's the lobby game. Yeah.
Talk to the alumni.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, it's a shame. It's a shame the disparity between private schools who have the money and when they see the technology. God forbid a parent hears about it at one of the wealthier private schools. Guess what? That system's going in. You can't stop it if you tried. And sadly, the public schools, they don't have a voice like that. They've got to rally. They got to wait. In Texas, you got to wait 2 years for the next legislative session, right? So that it is what it is.
Right.
We got time for one more question, Stephen.
Sure. Throw it up there. And oh no, not today wants to know, what advice would you give veterans struggling to reset their identity after service? Thank you for that question. Oh no, not today.
Yeah. Okay. Oh no, not today. I'm glad you asked that question because I've been actually thinking about this since your guys' last guest, the Marine Corps, and talking about PTSD. And I went through Ibogaine treatment. That's probably a podcast for another day. So I've actually done the work. Sometimes it takes a push to get realized, but what I want to focus on is the word identity. Okay. I believe that today the word identity is being captured, and we're being labeled and boxed in to believing that we are, all the things we've done, or we are an experience, and that is our identity. My 21 years in the Navy as a SEAL was my identity. I don't believe that. We've started as a person. We're going to finish as a person. What happened to you in between is just an experience. It is not an identity. And I think we should stop looking at that as like a wall to getting to where we need to go. right? It's just, if you can look at it in the terms of it's just an experience, accept what you've been through, standing here today in the present moment, accept what you've got, forget the past, remember what you've learned, what came out of it, but going forward, don't look back in the rear view. That is, it's not your identity. Your identity was I like to tell people all the time, I was a boy who became a SEAL who had to learn how to become a man. That's how I put it. And so if you think about that, that's me not recognizing that I'm not boxed into any one experience, looking at it as that's your identity. My identity is I like to be a genuine human being, who loves to talk to people and loves to accomplish things. Baseline, right? That's what I see. I don't see, 10 years from now, my identity is not going to be a Navy SEAL. I'm not going to be drinking beers in a bar and getting in a fight, right? This is like rolling out into the street because I'm too old anyway, right? At this point. So the answer to the question is shift your perspective. Actually sit down and change your perspective. Don't think that you're locked into an identity. You can change 30 seconds from now. You can become the person you want to be. Not based on your past and not based on anything that's happened to you in your past. Those are just experiences. Your identity is what you continue to live at and live like and what you want to do day to day, living in the present.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
A lot of people I've graduated with, high school with, are going 4-year contracts and are excited for the veteran discounts they'll get after the contract, which was very discouraging to me. Yeah, I brought that up before. When my daughter was in high school, she wanted to go the recruiter route too, and she went out, I think, with the Navy. And all they were talking to was, sign up. We get paid for this, you get paid for this, you get paid for this. And it wasn't actually offering her a career at all. Just sign up and we'll pay for your college, we'll pay for this. Yeah. It's not like, okay, here's a career, we're going to train you, you're going to do this. They were just looking for names to get on a list, and we're going to pay for your college.
It's a funny statement. I never even considered. I still don't even know what discounts are available on Veterans Day. I forget the free coffee at Starbucks every year. My wife goes, "Did you get your coffee?" Well, my daughter will say, "Did you get your coffee?" I don't even know. I don't even know what you're talking about. And then I forget that Starbucks gives a free coffee. I probably should take advantage. That can't be the lead in. And you're absolutely right, Steve. I think the advertisement of get your college education and serve the military, that's the wrong tagline. These aren't the reasons why you join military. Getting a technical skill in serving your country, that's a different way to word it. What they can do for you is never the way. I sound like John F. Kennedy. What you could do for your country, like you can't. I think that advertise actually sound like nothing like John F. Kennedy. He was a much better speaker than I was. But yeah, you're right. I can't disagree with that. That it's kind of disgusting. If that's, I didn't even think people thought that way, but I guess that's a thing. Yeah, it's a shame. That's a shame. The discounts aren't that great anyway. So whatever.
No.
At Dirty Grum, we would stray away from helo trips if we saw seals on the tarmac. We thought it was bad luck, for lack of better words.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. If I saw seals on the tarmac, I'd run the other way myself. Like, stay away.
Yeah,
stay away for a lot of reasons.
Well, hey, I think we're fixing to kind of wrap things up here. First of all, if somebody wants to contact you, I know we had your website on here earlier, and it's reach you at jjparma.com.
Yep.
And they can contact you for speaking engagements and just whatever they want to contact you about. And now I have one last question for you in 3 parts. And if you watch the whole David Shoup interview, you probably know what this question is. What are What are 3 non-negotiables for JJ every morning when you wake up or your day is not complete?
Okay, 3 non-negotiable. I did not want. I have about 8 minutes left to go on that podcast. By the way.
Okay.
So fail. I failed there, which is good. Which is good because this is easy. I will wake up. I will get 5 minutes of sunlight. Okay. I go out. Don't look at a calendar. Don't look at a phone. I get up and I walk outside, no matter the weather. I live in 2 sunny places, so it's kind of nice to do this, but you can do it anywhere. I walk out and I get at least 5 minutes, and I do clock it. Right now, I don't have to wear a watch or anything. I just tell how long I'm out there. I get that first light. Okay, that sets my day. Okay. Mm-hmm. When I come back inside, that's when I have coffee. So coffee is a must. Coffee snob. We could talk about coffee all day long. I have to have my coffee. It's number 2. And number 3 is I kiss my wife before I start working.
That sounds like 3 things to start off a wonderful day.
If you do that every day, or kiss your partner, whatever it is, those are 3 non-negotiables that I cannot start my day. If I forget one of those, it's a true story. If I forget to do one of those things, my day will not be the same. This is where it goes to discipline too, but it's also, these are the things that connection, not only with the outside, and you can do this in a city, so there's no excuse. That connection with the outside and the connection with your partner or a loved one. And then if you love coffee in between, substitute coffee for whatever drink you want. If you do those 3 things, you're going to have a great day. You've already succeeded, no matter how bad the work gets.
But I don't know what world you live in. I get up at 5 in the morning every day. I go outside. There is no sunlight.
That's all right. You're still getting morning nautical twilight. Jake knows that.
Uncle Fester, you like moonlight anyway.
Yeah, I guess so.
Nothing wrong with getting daylight at the end of the day either.
Well, hey, Misfit Nation, thank you for hanging out with the ToosDay Crüe tonight. And hey, anybody out there, if you're feeling the darkness and, we're here for you, get on that phone, dial 988. If you're a veteran, take option 1, because tomorrow would not be as beautiful a day as it's going to be without you in it. And we love you, and we want to have you here with us. So please do that. If you don't want to do that, contact one of us. All of our information's up there. Just reach out to us. Drop your number in there. We'll call you and try to get you the help that you need. We will get you the help that you need. What you got, Steven? Parting shot?
Parting shot. Check us out at Reach Across America. We're on Saturdays now. Is it 5 p.m.? I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
Other than that, don't forget NASCAR's coming up.
Hey, who won Bowman? Somebody asked who won the Bowman Gray race.
Yeah, I put it up. It was Priest, I think his name is.
Oh, okay.
I answered it before. Yeah, Priest won the race.
Okay.
It took them 3 days to race it because of the snow, but.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. JJ, thank you for being here this evening. Had a
Thanks for hanging out.
Honor to have you on here. And with that, we're going to cut on out of here.
Thank you, sir. Humbled to be here. Thanks for doing what you guys do.
Good night, Mr. Nation.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.